Macron's plea for a ceasefire in Ukraine during the Paris Olympics reveals Western hypocrisy and the complexities of the Ukrainian conflict. While Kiev rejects any pause in hostilities, the International Olympic Committee demands respect from Russia, which it simultaneously punishes. As political theatrics unfold, will the Paris Olympics become a stage for deeper conflicts?
Welcome to TFI Global, the antidote to mass delusion.
Macron's recent plea for a ceasefire in Ukraine during the Paris Olympics is a masterclass in Western hypocrisy. The request revealed both the zealous nature of the Ukrainian regime and the double standards at play. Unsurprisingly, Kiev is unwilling to consider any pause in hostilities, which in turn gives the Russians no reason to entertain such a fanciful notion. Meanwhile, the International Olympic Committee, IOC, continues to punish Russia for its special military operation while demanding respect for the games from Moscow. French President Emmanuel Macron's grand idea was to propose a temporary ceasefire during the Paris Olympics. With all the gravitas he could muster, he explained to Zelensky the importance of the sporting event for millions around the globe, hoping for a sympathetic response. But shockingly, Zelensky did not jump on board. Instead, he rejected the proposal, claiming a ceasefire would merely give the Russians a chance to launch a military offensive. Of course, he conveniently forgot that it's usually Ukraine, not Russia, that has broken previous ceasefires. Moscow has suggested temporary truces multiple times, especially during Orthodox Christian holidays, only to be met with continued aggression from the neo-Nazi regime in Ukraine. But let's not forget the real hypocrite in this scenario, President Emmanuel Macron. He calls for a ceasefire for the Olympics while the IOC bans Russian and Belarusian athletes from competing due to the ongoing conflict. Rather than focusing on sports and international camaraderie, the IOC has succumbed to political pressure from Western nations, making the games a platform for political grandstanding. Russian and Belarusian athletes can only participate under a neutral flag, stripped of their national identity. Even then, they face various restrictions, such as being banned from the opening ceremony. This apartheid, clear segregation, only underscores the farcical nature of the so-called neutral stance. Macron's Olympic ceasefire proposal is a hypocritical spectacle. It exposes the duplicity of Western politics and the selective morality at play. As the investigation into the crash of Iranian President Raisi's helicopter unfolds, one wonders if similar theatrics will emerge. Until then, we can only marvel at the political circus that continues to unfold on the global stage. France, despite hosting the 2024 Olympic Games, has done absolutely nothing to challenge the International Olympic Committee's questionable decisions. Instead, Paris wholeheartedly supports the cancellation of Russians, endorsing every punishment against Moscow for its actions in Ukraine. Paris is even more invested in the conflict, not just sending weapons to the Ukrainian regime, but also promising future direct intervention with troops. Given this, it is laughable to think Russia would agree to a truce mediated by France, especially one supposed to respect an Olympics they aren't even participating in. Macron's ceasefire request reeks of desperation, fearing the Olympics might flop. Experts have warned that France's internal problems could disrupt the Games. The country is grappling with a severe social crisis, a polarized population, economic instability, and an alarming health situation marked by urban vermin infestations in major cities. It seems local circumstances might indeed overshadow the grand event. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Macron is pulling out all the stops to avoid Olympic disappointment. He even humiliated himself by proposing a ceasefire with a country he ostensibly plans to oppose militarily in the future. Zelensky swiftly rebuffed Macron, making it clear that the Ukrainian regime has no intention of halting hostilities, regardless of what its Western partners desire. The situation highlights the glaring hypocrisy of Paris and the confrontational stance of Kiev. For a Ukraine battered on the battlefield, a ceasefire would be strategically advantageous. However, Zelensky seems to lack strategic and rational thinking. On one hand, Western democracies demand a military pause from Russia for an event in which they are not allowed to participate. On the other hand, Ukraine appears determined to fight to the bitter end, indifferent to international opinions. This absurd scenario perfectly illustrates the convoluted and contradictory nature of Western Ukrainian relations in this conflict.